Welcome to day 5 of the Take Back 2020 Challenge. My name is Kathy Harris, and I'm the co-director of the school ministry with my husband, Gordon Harris. And today we are talking about taking your life back when you find yourself in a rut. Now, often what happens, and I don't know exactly what situation you're in, but often what happens is we're going along fine with God, and we hit a rut. And sometimes the rut happens because something in life happens, and it just knocks us off our feet, literally. And I want to look at, if that happens, if you happen to be in that situation right now where you just feel, even after a week of this great challenge that you've been knocked off your feet, I want to look at, okay, how do we get back off on our feet with passion and just, we've got ourselves back. And this is a good year for taking everything back. So if you're in that situation, if you look in the Bible gives amazing, relevant information. I'm constantly amazed that the Bible was written thousands of years ago, and we can still read it. It's still relevant, and it still can speak to those deep issues of the heart and deep questions of the heart. And often the biggest problem is that when we run into something, we run away from God rather than running right into Him. So that's the end of the story. Our goal and what we should be doing is taking everything we have and running right back into God. But as you know, and I know, sometimes we do the opposite. We run completely the other direction. So in the Bible, my favorite character to look at, if I'm not in Genesis, my favorite character to look at is David. And when you read in Samuel about David, you see this crazy story of this guy who the Bible describes him, God describes him as a man of God after God's own heart. And we hear that on the one end. But then we start hearing the story of David, and you all know it really well. David is going along, and he's king. He's just really, you can just feel he's just in the favor and love of God and doing what he was built to do. And he makes some really significant mistakes, and my feeling is when you read that, you can. The language even in the text is David was restless. That's how he's described. That is a version of a rut, guys. Being restless for whatever reason it is, and if we don't look at why we're restless, then what happens is we start acting out the restlessness, trying to fix it and trying to solve it without looking at what the problem is. That's like a sub-point number 1 of my talk. Don't look at what the problem is. Look at what is causing the problem and solve that with God rather than trying to fix it on the outside. So we're watching David, and the very first mistake that David makes is he is not where he's meant to be. So what to do if you're in a rut, what not to do, point number 1 is do not be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Be where you are meant to be. And David actually should have been out on battle. He had sent all his guys out to battle, and as the king, as the leader of that of those, whatever you call them, of those warriors, his place was to be out there with his men, but he wasn't, and instead he sent them out, and he stayed at home. That was his first big mistake. So don't be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Be where God has called you to be, and start there. The second thing that David did is he played, what I would say is that he played with the darkness. He played with nighttime. Evening is when we can get ourselves into all kinds of trouble. If you're out consistently, late at night or up late at night all the time, I'm talking like, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, if it's not to do with your job, it is asking for trouble. And David was up way too late. He was, looking out over the city to see what he could see, and that's when he got caught in a trap of the enemy. And the enemy, in the Bible it says the enemy is lurking at your door. I don't think that's something to be afraid of. I think it's something to be respectful of. The enemy is looking, okay, is there a way I can catch you up? And he certainly caught up David. And when David then took action, with Bathsheba, and as you know the story well, he got Bathsheba pregnant, and then he tried to fix his mistake. So I want to say point number 3 is that the baby was not the first mistake. So in some ways, David is trying to fix that problem, but the mistake came many steps before he ever made a baby with Bathsheba. So take a look. If you're in a rut, don't just look at what the presenting problem is. Look, okay, where did I go off track many, many days or hours before you actually got to where you are today? The next thing that David does is he uses what I'm going to call coercion, manipulation. He tries to hide what he's done, and by covering it up and sort of, using his skills, his wise skills, in a very ungodly way. So I'm going to say, if you're caught in a rut, do not do that. Don't try to hide and cover up what you've done, because it actually does not get you anywhere. And finally, what David did is he just pulled away from God and ignored the callings that God was giving him. So God, it's funny because we think about God, oh, he's going to be mad at us, so I'll hide from him. But God's the opposite. You see the father heart of God in the Old Testament, all through the Old Testament. And in fact, here you can see he sends a prophet to David. And was that prophet to be unkind and be angry at him? No, that prophet was to call David home, to call him back to the Father. And that's God's kindness that we see here. But you know the story. David ignored it until finally he broke. And that's when the story changed. That, I would say, is the first moment that David started to come out of the rut that he had created for himself. And so that's what you don't do. You don't do all of that stuff that David did that really involved murder at the end. But you do what you see him do in the second part of where he's going. And what I love is as soon as he has that kind conviction of the Lord, different from condemnation. Remember, condemnation is you're bad, you're a horrible person, you're no good. Whereas conviction is, oh man, what you just did was wrong. And David totally gets the conviction of the Lord. And he does a few things. He admits it. So if you've done something, admit it. There's nothing wrong with admitting. So first thing, admit what you did was wrong, because as soon as you do that, it's like a huge burden lifts off of you, and you are now, knee deep out of the rut that you might happen to be in. The second thing he does is he accepts forgiveness. Now, I could talk to you for way longer than this segment is about forgiveness, but forgiveness is essential. And forgiveness is, it's not just us forgiving other people, it's us also forgiving ourselves. It's taking what Jesus did on the cross, that he died for you and me to have forgiveness, to have that sin just moved as far as the east is from the west. And so David needed to accept forgiveness. I've done something wrong, I've admitted it, and he experienced the peace of God as soon as he had that forgiveness. And I love the story. The story just keeps unfolding as David does everything he can to make it right. You know that he prayed and fasted and wept, and I think he put ashes on his head, whatever he could for the life of that baby. But when that baby died, he accepted the consequences of it. He realized, oh, my sin has caused the life of this baby to be taken away, and he accepted the consequences. Then it says that when he realized that the baby had died, he got up, he cleansed himself. So, guys, there's something about, sometimes we get in a rut, even physically, we don't take care of ourselves. We, sometimes, I don't feel like showering or washing my hair, or I just have my sweatpants on. There's something physical about actually getting up, getting ourselves dressed in the morning, and doing something that is a statement that I am out of my rut. Now I would say you're sort of waist deep up and out of your rut. And the final thing that David did is he chose God. He chose God again. In the word it says that he went and worshiped God. Even though he had just lost something very dear to him, he worshiped God. And my call to you today is to come back to the Father. Come as close as you can, owning your stuff, forgiving yourself, and getting up and starting again and just saying, God, you are Lord of my life. You are the one that has the solutions. You are the one you are the one who I worship. You are the one that I choose every single day. So now I'm going to pray for you. So Father, my prayer for every single person who is watching here online is, first of all, that they would just take a moment right now and just stand in your forgiveness. And Father, I pray for every single thing this week that they've asked you for forgiveness for, that you come right now and you forgive them. And I just speak that forgiveness to you in the name of Jesus. I speak that sin or that offense or whatever it was that happened with you is as far as the east is from the west, and it is every detail of it just starts to fall away from you, where you've had blame or you've had accusation against yourself. It is gone in the name of Jesus. And I pray, Father, that there is a rising up inside of them, this kind of ferocious rising up where they come running back to you. And as they come running back to you, they get revelation, they get understanding. They can literally feel that they are up out of that rut. Father, I pray strength comes back to their body. I feel like some of you that have even wrestled with things like, chronic fatigue. All that fatigue comes off of you right now in the name of Jesus. Any of you who have had stomach issues of just anxiety manifesting in your body, that is healed right now in the name of Jesus. Father, I pray that their worship to you, that hunger. I know there's hunger for these people that have tuned in and are watching, but I pray that hunger just explodes and they are rich and hungry for the word, hungry for your truth, hungry for to actually take their life back. And we just declare that this is the year of 2020 and you are taking your life back. That's it for day 5. Don't forget to join us tonight on the live ministry session on Facebook. And we're going to have more impartation. We're going to have more ministry. And we have a special announcement for you from the school ministry. So I'll see you tonight.